Hello, I'm Dmitry Ivanovich, and this is The Naked Truth. In 2001, on September 9, the United States suffered the most horrendous attack that has ever happened on its shores since the English landed in 1776. And as the facts have unfolded over the past 16 years, it has become apparent to everyone that 9/11, the attack on the Twin Towers and the deaths of almost 3,000 people, was an inside job. There are over 3,000 people whose specialty is building and engineering buildings. And they know that kerosene or jet fuel, which burned for perhaps 90 minutes in each building at the longest, could not possibly have melted this type of steel that was in those buildings. And there were some intrepid people who crossed those crime scene lines and collected the twisted fragments of steel girders. And when those steel girders had been tested, they found out that those steel girders were exposed to explosives made out of nanotechnology, a type of explosive which can only be obtained from the U.S. military. It's not something that terrorists could mix up in a bathtub. And it became against the law for anyone to speculate about the 9/11 attack, against the law to discuss it. And when the Patriot Act was passed, we see an example of a 7,000-page document, which is word for word in translation exactly the same kind of law Stalin had written into Russian law, which created the GRU and the KGB. Now we have Homeland Security. And across this country, a wave of violence and violent impulses has seized our police forces, and they are shooting people without cause. In the last few years, there has been an overwhelming, nauseating rise in the number of deaths suffered by black people who happen to come under the observation of the law and have done nothing more than be driving while black. Taken individually, it's pretty nauseating, but taken as a whole, it's absolutely unconscionable. And when is it going to stop? When will a policeman who shoots somebody in the back from 50 yards away, somebody who couldn't possibly be threatening a policeman? When are those kind of crimes going to be answered? That's something we have to ask ourselves, because when these pigs do these kind of things, they always almost get off. What are we going to do about it? Are we just going to sit and let the world recognize what a racist country this is? And we can't even call it racism anymore. The police are shooting everyone. White people, yellow people, brown people, black people. What are we going to do about it? Who's going to change it? Who's going to stand up and say, what the fuck is going on here? Across this country, we see a vast sea of prosecutors who don't think that it's wrong for a person to be shot in the back by a policeman who's got his hands, and when that person who's being shot has his hands in the air. Who dealt this mess anyway? How long can this go on? Nobody will stop it unless we all rise up and say enough. No more. That it has to end. This is Dmitry Ivanovich with the Naked Truth.